Welcome back to Born Again to Live. We are the podcast that just talks about, living for God and just having that born again moment where God just takes all of your crap and recycles it into the most amazing new life, just like a butterfly, Eric.
Yep. I'm still hanging up on yesterday's episode. I love that topic.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool.
The cover song.
Yeah. No cover song. Like, I think the authentic version of Jesus is so, we got to seek that more. We really need to dive deep in our intimacy with him.
We sure do, because he's the only way we can truly understand the Father, because God is he's just so big, and his ways are not our ways, and he doesn't think like us. And so just looking to Jesus, it gives you that hope that we don't have to have all the answers. We just don't.
Saying getting close with him is the only way we can understand this world. We can understand what we're going through. We can understand what others are going through. Mm-hmm. If we're not close to him and we don't have that authentic version, we'll never understand what's happening around us.
Yeah. We just had a little talk about that, like how, God's Spirit gives you this discernment and this ability to see what's going on in people's lives, from miles away. And they just think you're some amazing prophet. And you're just like, no, it's as plain as the nose on your face what's happening. And the thing is, it's a result of sin in the world, but it's usually what everyone else is going through too, Eric. I'm a firm believer that 99.9% of everyone's problem is they don't know their worth. It's because they don't know they're a child of God. That's where it starts and ends for me most of the time.
I got privileged enough. I get to speak at my home church for like 3 straight weeks, and last week was the first one. And when I was done with my short message, because I'm not long-winded at sermons, I just kind of tell what God says to say, and I'm done. Like, mm-hmm. And Dusty, the guy who wrote the song, he's playing keys, and he sang a song, and he started talking, and he said, God has gifted me the ability to see pain in people's eyes. And he said, it comes from, though, a life of pain. And he said, I think I had to suffer through all the pain that he started at. He can remember as early as 7 with pain and problems and addictions. And I joke, but Dusty's been addicted to anything he can be addicted to. Wow. He said he calls it 2.5 heart attacks. And like, he's been through so much, but now he can look into someone's eyes and see that pain and know how to help and know what God wants to talk to them about. So sometimes that authentic version is what helps you to see clearly, even if it's through scarred eyes or scarred hands or scarred, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, we got to seek that authentic version so that we can get that clarity for others too.
And that's what we're trying to do here in Born Again to Live, right, Eric? We are trying to get to the heart of God. We are trying to live a life that is worthy of his calling and our purposes.
Sorry, that was not supposed to be the topic for today, but it just felt like I was needing to say that because it was... the conversation off air kind of led me to feel like, that's what we're here for. We didn't say enough about it.
I mean, we can never say enough about it sometimes. But
so anyways, today's topic.
All right.
What is it?
Stepping out in faith. And we had a long talk about just how God works. And when we just hear these stories on our Blues Day Tuesdays and we talk to other believers and just even in our own experiences, Eric, like, we realize, like, time and time again, like, God never steers us wrong. When he calls us to do something, when we don't understand it, when we don't want to do it, when we just make up every excuse in the book. But then we finally, all right, this is what you want. If this is your will, I'll do it. And when we finally step out without having any of the answers, it is unbelievable what happens, So, and I think coming off of a great weekend, I just think you need to share what's going on. Like I think we ended Friday's broadcast with you talking about your new Fallout Shelter ministry.
Yeah.
And I think it was Friday. I don't know. But it was an amazing weekend, Eric. And I think you need to tell us what all God is doing and how he's working through you by just stepping out in faith.
Well, when we did the episode on the Fallout Shelter, and I told you that I felt that I knew it came from God because it wasn't something I had a desire for.
Yeah.
And not saying I didn't give it my full commitment, but prior to the Fallout Shelter meeting, which was Sunday, I I ran into a young lady at a football game. And
hold on, we have an ambulance going by.
Yeah. When I ran into the young lady at the football game, she's a former Big Blue kid, actually, and I'd talked to her a few times in life. It wasn't a lot. She wasn't a regular or anything. Anyways, I said hi to her, and for anybody who's ever experienced it, God can speak to you in that moment like you can completely ignore the world, and it's clear as can be to you, and I just heard God say, her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, shaking my head like, I'm trying to have a conversation here. My head's clogged. And I was like, so how are you? And I just kept talking to her, and I walked away from that situation. I'm like, God, what did you mean by her? And I didn't even think about it. Like, it was like, okay, that was a passing, hey, how are you, friendly gesture, whatever. I get home, and literally Facebook, I pull it up, and the first friend suggestion is that person.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's weird. And so I skipped it. And it took me 3 days of her being the first friend suggestion for 3 days. And finally, I'm like, all right, enough. I'm adding her. So I added her as a friend, and then I sent her the Fallout Shelter information. And immediately I got a response. Oh, well, I got added immediately, and then I sent the stuff. And immediately I got a response. This looks really awesome.
Nice.
And so I was like, okay, that's cool. And, I was kind of encouraged that somebody was liking what we were doing and enjoying what we was trying to do here. And thought, that's cool. If she shows up, it'll be awesome. And I didn't really pursue it.
Yeah.
And I started pursuing others, and I was pushing it out there to people, and I was personally inviting all these people and stuff. And so as get to the day of the meeting on Sunday, I got home from church and I had some time. So I sent the thing and I said, hey, are you going to be there tonight at 6? And she's like, I don't have a ride. And I'm like, oh, man. And I'm like, where do you live? And she's like, well, about 30 minutes on the other side of Wardensville, like near Winchester. I'm like, oh, man, I cannot drive down there today. And I'm kind of like, all right, well, sorry you're going to miss it. I was kind of in one of those modes, like I just needed to get stuff done. And
yeah,
I was like, all right, I'll try to find you a ride, but if I can't, it's okay. We'll figure it out. And she's like, okay, well, if I get there, I'd really like to talk to you about some emotional stuff I'm going through. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll listen anytime. So go through, and it's a couple hours later, and she goes, any luck finding a ride? And I'm like, oh, sorry, no. And I'll be honest, I didn't even really hardly try. Like it was one of those, I was thinking about it, but I'm like, who do I ask? That's a lot of ask. If Amy was coming, Amy passes through there, I would ask her. Amy's not coming. What do I do? And finally, she messaged, she goes, hey, Ben Montgomery's going to pick me up. And I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, go, Ben. Like, love you, Ben. Thank you, God, for having Ben there, because Ben was coming with us. So she got picked up, and she made it there. Well, the whole meeting was kind of chaotic. I was cooking on a charcoal grill, and I hate charcoal because it's really slow sometimes, and it wouldn't get hot. So the burgers took forever. The hot dogs took forever. Like, we were 40 minutes late getting started on eating, and I started the charcoal an hour before the meeting was supposed to start, thinking I would be fine. So everything was thrown off, and my whole schedule was off. Well, then there was some adults who hung around that were at the park.
Right.
So I didn't really want to start the meeting with the adults who weren't part of the Fallout Shelter, but I was like, I just kind of play it off. Then some of her friends showed up that she hadn't seen in forever, and they were doing their thing, and I'm just like, this is chaos. Like, what a disaster, Eric. You did a terrible job on this meeting. You have zero structure. You need Amy in your life for structure. That's cool.
Yes, and we all know this.
We clear up, and it's almost dark, and we finish eating, and I'm getting set up for the meeting, and there's people still talking, and I'm like, all right, enough. I'm like, hey, can you come over here? I want to talk. And so I got the kids together, or the teens or the young adults together, whatever you want to call them. And I started telling them what my vision for the Fallout Shelter was and how I think it was going to work, and I wanted their input, but then I showed them the survival kit, and we went through everything. And I gave them their survival kits and said, you're free to go. We'll pray here real quick, and then you can go. So we prayed, and they left, and she stayed.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, no, I got a ride. So she just stayed, and it was just me and DJ and her. And she walked over to this gazebo that's there, and I was doing something, and all of a sudden I heard DJ say, are you okay? And she gave him a thumbs up, and he says, the thumbs up's not, are you okay? And she started just bawling.
Yeah.
So we sat down and talked to this young lady, and to say that God had orchestrated this perfectly is no doubt in my mind, because she said that she wouldn't be alive had I not sent her that invitation, because she was planning to end her life. She had zero hope. She had zero things to live for, she felt. And she started cutting him, doing all the things that she thought would heal her pain. But then when I sent her that invite, she's like, this might be my hope.
Yeah.
And so that night, me and DJ sat there and talked to her for, oh my gosh, ever.
Yeah.
And just showed her the love of God and what truly it means to be a Christian and how God can help her. We went through this whole thing, and then she was refusing to allow us to help her. And so at one point, DJ, I remember he looked at her and said, there's no point in being proud. Will you take help? And she said, yes. So we have a friend here at Big Blue that I called, and they put her up in their house that night and let her stay because she was technically homeless.
Yeah.
DJ had a daughter, almost her exact age, and he was getting clothes out of the back of his vehicle to her, and all of these things. Well, this child, like, her life changed right there, knowing that there's people who care that much. There's people who are going to be there for me no matter what. And so I quoted on our group text that we have that the Fallout Shelter became the Fallout Shelter.
Yes,
that
it
night,
did.
because the Fallout Shelter definition is when the attack happens, it's a safe place to go back to. Well, now she has a safe place to go back to.
Yeah.
And in her brutal honesty, we've been through all the things that she was struggling with, and we talked to her about the love of God. And when we were taking her to this house, I just wanted to know that she wasn't going to do the stupid crap that she had been doing. And I just looked at her and I'm like, do you have any of that stuff on you? And she goes, no.
Yeah.
And I believe in that moment, she was so honest. She would have gave me anything and everything that she had, drugs or stuff to cut herself with or any of that. She would have gave it all up because she was that full of hope in that moment that she knew, like, I got to stop.
So great.
So it was an awesome night because God orchestrated it for one person.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, like, I think about your chaotic barbecuing and all that kind of stuff. And like, but we always say God's timing is perfect. And so like, it isn't about what time we got dinner started or what time we started the conversation. Like, it was all about like her knowing that she is seen by God. Like, that was the whole point of the night. That could have happened at 6:25 or 9:15. It didn't matter. Like, that's what needed to happen.
Yeah. At one point she did make the comment. She said, no one cares. I have no one. And I said, look, God looked down from heaven and he saw you.
Yeah.
And he said, Eric, that one. Don't
it.
lose that one. And to know, I got God bumps all over my
Oh my gosh.
right now.
I cried when you told me last night, Eric.
To think about, I heard him say her.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even imagine that it was that kind of an impact. But I asked her if she remembered that moment. She goes, honestly, Eric, I was high. I didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
And I said, well, God saw you. God saw you.
Sure did.
Out of all of the people in the world, that moment, he saw you.
Well, and then the part in our conversation last night that I kept saying, because this is what God does. He doesn't surprise you once you've seen him do enough stuff. You're like, yeah, that definitely sounds like God. But you're always in shock. So it's like, Eric, I'm shocked, but not surprised. But then I followed up with, I said, the last couple times I saw her, she seemed to be doing really well. And seemed is in the air quotes, people, because she did. She's like, oh yeah, like I'm, school's going good and I've got these plans for this career. And like everything just seemed to be, and she kept always saying, oh, things are so much better. So like, I'm like, okay, so they were good, but they're great now. And I mean, how many people do we, and so I said to Eric, wow, how fast things have turned around for her. And I think you said, Eric, I don't know if they ever really were good. She just put on that front. She kind of maybe wanted you to not worry about her, feel sorry for her, whatever, too proud for help. But
DIY life.
The DIY life. And how many people do we look at in our world and be like, well, they seem like they're doing great. And you know what? Maybe they are doing great, but maybe they're not. And I think that is when just that honest authenticity, like, how are you doing? I'm great. No. How are you really? Or my favorite is, how is your soul? Because you could be having an okay day, but your soul is still a disaster. So that was just, wow, what an incredible thing. And it kind of led to this conversation last night, that you and I were talking about, like, this stepping out in faith. And you were like, what if I hadn't answered the call, Amy? Like, what if I hadn't, God was telling you this bacon-fueled revelation and this is what we need to do. And, but what if I didn't? Like, would she be okay? you know?
Or would somebody else have answered the call? That was my actual question.
Yeah.
If I didn't say yes to doing the fallout shelter, and what if I didn't say yes to reaching out to her? Been like, well, what if I put it in a box, a church box? Let's call it the church box.
The church box.
What if I put it in that box of she doesn't fit into my crowd? She might not know anything about God, so let's exclude her because I want somebody I can work with.
Right.
If I put her in that box, she may have been lost forever. She may have committed suicide.
Absolutely. But there is good news, because I think when we talked about that, like, would someone else have answered the call? I remember saying to you, Eric, you're like, well, this kind of reminds me of James and the soda pop machine. And God gave him this opportunity to do his will and his work. And in that moment, Brother James is like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think this is the right thing for me. But then the next time he saw this guy, God's like, nope, we're good. And it's very clear that God used someone else in that moment. And there's a couple really good scriptures about, I want to read this Isaiah one because it's just, it's so good. This is from Isaiah 14, and I'm going to read 24 through 27. It says, the Lord Almighty has sworn, surely as I have planned, so it will be. And as I have purposed, so it will happen. I will crush the Assyrian in my land. On my mountains I will trample him down. His yoke will be taken from my people, and his burden removed from their shoulders. This is the plan determined for the whole world. This is the hand stretched out over all nations. For the Lord Almighty has purpose, and who can thwart him? His hand is stretched out, and who can turn it back? Yeah. That is our God. He sees that young lady. And if you hadn't answered the call, Eric, I'm convinced he would have used somebody else.
I'm convinced that she has a purpose in life that God has for her. And I can't wait, because after we talked and I was taking her to this safe place for the night, and okay, people, just say, like, DJ and I offered her a hotel, and God told me no. Like, I felt God say no. And so I called this person and I'm like, I need a room. I need your house for a night. Mm-hmm. And the difference is that hotel, you're still alone. You feel it's cold. It's not a home. It's not a place where you belong.
Yeah.
And so when we took her to this house, I think she just got comfortable and just could focus on being the child of God.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what she did because the person that just said when they got there, they talked for a second, and then she just went to her room.
Mm-hmm.
And she was there like all night, and it was crazy. So it's one of those, like, maybe she opened up the fallout shelter material and read it, or figured out what it means to be a child of God, or went through the identity book, any of that. Or she just sat there and thought about her night.
Yeah.
And the fact that God saw her. But on our ride there, she said, I have a friend that could really use this same stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bring her. Like, if she's going through the same emotional and not feeling like anybody cared, let's bring her into this too, because that's what this fallout shelter small group is. It's not just for one or two. It's for whoever wants. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they build those fallout shelters big. They stock them full of food. Yeah. So lots of people, there's always room for that one more that's looking for a safe place.
And that might have been his plan too, is that her purpose now is that she has survived that wanting to kill herself, mm-hmm. and that she can help others who are suffering in this alone, and be like, God, listen, I don't know how, but God saw me, he sees you. And in that moment, that might change everything around her and change all those people that she can come in contact with. Because she's a beautiful, she's a loving, and you can tell she's such a good person, but she's had a hard life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she has. And I think you're right. She has a testimony that she can use to draw, because this isn't supposed to be about, older adults preaching to these young adults. This is by them, for them. This is them wanting to grow together in the Lord and having, accountability partners that are their own age and not always just these authority figures. Yep. And, but I want to tell the listeners, prior to this, you skipped this part, Eric, but prior to all this, you reached out to your little support group.
Oh, yeah.
And you put us through a day of prayer and fasting.
Yep. So I did. I put together a support group of people praying, and that would want to know what's going on with the Fallout Shelter.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'll be honest, there was people from my church, people from Big Blue, and beyond.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those, like, as I was typing up I sent a couple people, is it okay if I add you to this group? And then a couple people I didn't even give my choice. But when I added the group and I did the original message of, hey, this is the Fallout Shelter group, I just wanted everybody to connect and have a place to talk about it and support me at the mission and everything, I heard God say fast and prayer.
Yeah.
And so I organized a Thursday fasting and prayer.
Yes, you did.
And several, if not all, committed to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the really cool part of this was that during this same time, I'm going through Pneuma, hearing from God, and the assignment for the week was to print out the class list and see who God illuminates on this class list and pray for that person.
Okay.
And so I was trying to do that a little bit, but at the same time, I was really deep in this Fallout Shelter. Is God's purpose this and not me? And so anyways, get to Thursday, and yeah, it was a massive day of prayer and fasting. But in the midst of it, my revelation didn't come from God himself. It came from somebody in my Pneuma class, and their simple answer to me that they heard from God, and God wanted me to know that my past victories and my past prayers will push me through in the future, which was all I needed to hear to say, all right, the Fallout Shelter will succeed because God's done it in the past. He'll do it again.
Yeah.
So, Amy, what was your day of anything?
Gosh. Well, yeah, because I kind of fast on a fairly regular basis. And so I'm like, okay, if I'm really going to make this work, I gave up coffee. I gave up my morning jolt. And man, did I yawn a lot up until about noon that day. But yeah, so I did water only for about, I don't know, 36 hours, 40 hours maybe. It was a biggie because I hadn't eaten the day before either, or since 6 o'clock the day before. So anyway, I did and you had asked us to pray for you and your illumination of the purpose, the mission, and what to do. And so I kept so many times I felt myself putting forth to God all of my stuff. And I'm like, nope, this is not what today's about. Rein it back in, Annie. But one of the things I felt like God said to me, whether it was to me in general or to you or just about God's like, look, I know this is this day of fasting and you want this just lightning strike epiphany. But he was like, look, trust me, child, I am working in mighty ways right now. You don't see it, but you're going to see it. And you just need to know right now in the stillness and the quietness of this day, I am doing mighty things. So, listeners, if you're out there and you're just sort of struggling to see, God, just know in this crazy world, turn the news feed off for a second and just rest and have peace and even joy in knowing that God is working.
I always get for that moment, like when you said that, I think of Daniel, the book of Daniel.
Yeah.
And Daniel prayed, and on the riverbank 21 days later, he's still praying, and he's like, why have you not answered me? And the archangel shows up and says, we heard your prayers, but we've been battling in the spiritual realm in which you can't see this whole time.
Yeah.
But we heard your prayers.
Yeah. We're delayed, right?
We're delayed. But that thought process, and we might need to go through this another day.
Yeah.
But that thought in Daniel, I always go back to it, that he heard your prayers. It might not be an immediate yes or an immediate no, but he heard your prayers, and he's working on it.
Yeah.
So have courage. Have that upbeat life of, God heard what I asked.
Yeah.
He might be delayed, or it might not need to be a now thing, but he heard you.
And that was what I took all day, because yes, when you're especially when you're fasting and you're on caffeine withdrawal and you are hurting and in pain, that is what you want. You're like, okay, God, I did all this stuff because I believe that you will, I believe you do everything you say you can do, God. And you want that moment right away to be like, see, it was all worth it. And yeah, God was just kind of like, oh yeah, no, I heard your prayers. I am working. I'm doing mighty things. Amy, today is not the day you get to see it. And just suck it up, buttercup.
And we talked about fasting not long ago. And
yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it up. We don't just preach this stuff, we do it.
Well, and I said, it's a practice that I'm going to get in the habit of doing more often. And I'm going to do these, I'm going to call them corporate fasts, because I think that the group of people with a sole prayer purpose and fasting together, we can move mighty things.
Absolutely.
And we started with, I don't even know how many's in my group, 6 or 7 of us.
Yeah.
But to see how God moved through that obedience and love that we are going to do this, I can't wait to see what else he does.
I'm always excited to see how God moves. And we just talked about a few other things that might be cooking, and God can do anything. So we're gonna pray for him to move in some mighty ways here at Big Blue as well.
Yep. We're gonna come back. We got a couple more scriptures. We'll come back tomorrow with the other scriptures on this part and talk a little bit about stepping out in faith again, and also maybe how we see these prayer visions and dreams and stuff, and how you can step out in those after you see them. So that's tomorrow's, guys.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right. See you tomorrow.
Bye.